What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell.
What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Rad. I'm here with Robo and Rhea, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. Jonathan Maberry is a New York Times best-selling and Bram Stoker Award-winning author. He's written a lot of stuff. He's a playwright, he's a content creator, he's a writer, teacher, lecturer, and was named one of today's top 10 horror writers. Books have been sold in more than 24 countries. I was first introduced reading Doom War, actually, back in, I think it was 2010. And you've written a lot of really awesome Marvel titles and also some things for Dark Horse and that we're going to talk about today, as well as IDW, which we're also going to go into detail on. It's good to have you on the show, Jonathan.
Yeah, awesome.
It is. Welcome. As Judah mentioned, you've got several nominations and Bram Stoker Award wins, which is amazing. I want to know what you love about horror as a genre.
Well, first off, I had a very creepy grandmother. If you could imagine Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter as an old lady, that was my grandmother. I mean, she believed in everything. So she introduced me to the folkloric versions of monsters, the werewolves and vampires and hinky punks and red caps, long before I became familiar with the Universal Pictures and Hammer horror films. So I was introduced to monsters first, and they were my early friends. And I've always loved horror storytelling, especially those types of stories where you have something, there's something big and bad, and it's up against people who don't have any special skills, but they have to acquire the knowledge or unify or whatever to beat those odds. And
that's right.
That speaks a lot to my personal love of the underdog, but also, to some of my childhood stuff. I grew up in a very abusive household where we had a monster in our house. We had to get strong, get tough, and get out. So
amazing.
I really love people fighting monsters.
Oh wow,
cool. So you're very clearly, just based on your body of work, it seems like you're very interested in vampires. And then you've also written some books about martial arts. So my question is, have you ever considered ninja vampires before?
It's a great idea. Probably a great animal. But yeah, I do like I like the pair of colors of the Sims vampire.
Amazing.
Cool.
I'm curious because you've got a really it says on Wikipedia you've got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and you've got a lot of pieces of work on martial arts. So do you use any of the same disciplines from martial arts in your writing process? Does any of that cross over?
Yes. I mean, I've been involved in martial arts for 56 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Black belt, retired in jiu-jitsu. I was a bodyguard. I was a bouncer. I was an expert with the DA's office for murder cases involving martial arts. Even taught martial arts at the university level. So I've got a lot of martial arts background, and it does influence a lot of what I do. It not only influences the content, like fight scenes and my understanding of how action plays out, but also the discipline I have to be a full-time writer. I'm a high-output writer. This year, for example, I'm writing 3 full novels, 4 novellas, 2 graphic novels, and 5 short stories.
Oh, wow.
While also teaching and doing other things. So without discipline, you don't get that done.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure you're a vampire at this point. You don't sleep, right?
It's entirely possible. And I also have a room filled with an infinite number of monkeys banging the typewriter.
So then you're not a fan of free time. Like, free time is something that you just don't like having, I guess.
I'm sure that word, but I'm not sure exactly what it means, free time.
That's right.
I take nights off. I take most weekends off. I still have family time and friend time. And it's just that I work really efficiently when I'm working.
Nice.
I get 4,000 words a day, every day.
So
it's amazing.
I know what you do is a lot more than just comic books, but this is a comic book show. So if you don't mind sharing with us, how did you get into comic books? Maybe did you have a love for comic books as a child first, and then get into writing? How does that work?
Comic books have been incredibly influential my whole life. I mean, when my brother was heading off to Vietnam, and I was 6, something like that, he gave me a whole stack of his comics, and most of them were EC comics. I mean, original EC comics. But also, he gave me a bunch of Marvel titles. He was a Marvel guy, and I grew up to be a Marvel guy. And it was, early issues, the first issues of X-Men, the first issues of Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. I wish I said, but at the time they were all beat up. But I fell in love with them immediately, especially Fantastic Four, which was my first comic I ever bought with my own money, was the Fantastic Four. And I actually have it framed around here somewhere.
Cool.
But I love comics, and also comics were very influential in my growth. I mentioned that I had a monster in our house. My father, aside from the was also the head of the local chapter of the KKK, so he was a very bad guy. And so that environment I was born into. And then I'm reading Fantastic Four. They introduced the Black Panther, and seeing a completely different version of the world than the propagandized version I was being force fed at home. And that led me to break away from his viewpoint and eventually, follow my own star with that. And the irony is that I eventually became the writer for Black Panther, and I'm sure that made my father spin in his grave about Warp 9.
Hopefully. By the way, thank you for sharing that with us. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's actually well, okay.
I was just going to say, I'm curious who is your favorite out of the Fantastic Four. Who do you like the most?
I always like the problem solver guy.
Yeah, nice.
But to answer your other question about how I got into comics, after I was my agent and I had been strategizing how to pitch to Marvel, and I come up with a pitch, and we're all ready to go. And then out of the blue, I get a phone call from Axel Alonso, the editor-in-chief of Marvel. Who's, hey, I just read one of your novels, Read Patient Zero. Love your dialogue and action. Any chance you might be interested in possibly writing for Marvel? And it's a phone call because physically I'm doing the Snoopy dance at this point. On the phone, I'm like, we can work out the numbers and the schedule.
I mean, I guess I'll see if I can pencil you in. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the vibe I was giving him. It's like, well, it's an inconvenience, but I'll give it a shot. And he gave me a 8-page Wolverine short, which I did, which actually was in the Wolverine anniversary issue that year. It was, with art by Tom Coker, who's amazing. And then based on that, he said, "How about doing a Punisher Max story for me?" The funny thing there is, I had stopped reading a lot of comics around 1990 because I got so busy with things with teaching and so on. And in 2008, when he reached out to me, I had not read comics post 18 years, or at least not Marvel comics, and I was unfamiliar with what Punisher Max was. I thought it was a character in Punisher Max. And
it's one of my favorite series.
And he explained to me, it's R-rated, it's for the adults. So he kept telling me, go over the top, over the top, over the top. So it turned in a script that for me, is over the top. And he's like, "Are you out of your mind? We can't do that." So he had me dial it down, and the dialed down version is still what a lot of folks consider over the top Marvel Max.
Wow, that's amazing. It's funny you mentioned Tom Coker because we did a review on Black Monday Murders a while back. That's actually one of the first videos we started out doing, and it was just his art is so amazing. Yeah. It's so
his art for my story, by the way, was so beautiful. It made me go in and re-edit or edit the story again to cut back on the dialogue and the caption so that more of his art shows. It was a very good lesson for me as a writer.
Oh, wow. I bet that's a rare occurrence. That's amazing. That just speaks to how talented he is. So you as a creator, it's very cool that you do this, but we've noticed that you do a lot of Facebook Lives, especially since the pandemic has been a thing. So I want to know, is there a question that you get asked a lot or the most, or any questions that take you by surprise that you remember?
Well, the most common questions are usually about my Joe Ledger thriller series. They want to know who his boss is, Mr. Churchill. There's a lot of theories going around. I've dropped clues in each of the 11 books that are currently out. I'm writing the 12th now.
Cool.
So I get asked that question a lot, and I don't answer it. I tease. But as far as what's there's very little that actually in life does surprise me. So some of the questions would be like, is this character really, this historical person, or would you ever want to do a team up with someone else's character? And it's like the answer is to that type of question is always yes. I've done team.
Let me edit out that question real quick. All right, cool.
Most of the guys in my genre, like Jim Butcher and James Rollins, and we're all friends. So we do want to do crossovers. We have done some. So
That's
so
awesome.
there aren't there's no gotcha type of questions where it stumps me. Nothing like that.
There
Okay.
you go.
So, Do More. In Do More, I just want to talk a little bit about Do More. I know it was a while ago, but one thing I noticed with Do More, and this is the cover, everybody, if any of the viewers have read this, but so Dr. Doom in this story employs tactics that are strikingly similar to how wars are fought in the post-World War II era, with intelligence agencies and influencing coups in other nations. Kind of brings to mind the 1953 Iran coup, as well as more recently the Russian annexation of Crimea. Did real-world events inspire the story of Do More when you were writing it?
Yes, I read a lot about history. I know a lot about history, and history also often has not only good lessons to teach, but good stories that we can repurpose and tell. So yes, that had a lot to do with it. And also, I always viewed Doom, when he's written well, as a very intelligent, nuanced character.
Oh yeah.
He's not a raving madman. I never liked it when they had him as a raving madman, or somebody doing just foolish things. He's the head of state. He's a scientist.
Runs the country, right?
Well-past head of state and scientist, and there's a reason that groups like the Fantastic Four used to be afraid of him, because he was that powerful and that clever. So when I created Do More, we set it up with Black Panther Power. That one. Do More was actually supposed to be a continuation by Black Panther. But
Oh yeah.
back in the day, Black Panther was canceled every 15 minutes. Now it's a strong title that was way before the Marvel movies and especially Black Panther movies. So it's on the bundle again, but they liked my next arc. They said, let's pull it out, just make it its own arc. So I wrote a political comic. I have I could talk about what goes on in the world and the subtle machinations that go on behind every big political move. There's a lot of things that happen first, and Doom is sophisticated. He also has people working with him. In some of the comics, it always seems like he works alone. That's not possible. It's also not practical. So I gave him the power glove for the series about that message. Totally going to blank on it. There's a whole group that cleans up after superhero things. They had a run of the comics.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally right now. But I brought him in there, and then wanted to throw a lot of different guest stars into the story to give it a bigger scope, and had a lot of fun with that. It's one of my favorite books that ever done.
Cool.
That's pretty
All right.
high up there. Nice.
So you kind of answered it earlier, but I'm going to ask anyway just to see if we can get something specific, right? So like us, we're kind of, like me and Judah anyway. I know Ree's a huge fan, and we lean on her for our indie kind of comics and stuff. She reads everything, really. But me and Judah are probably primarily fans of Marvel. So here's the pitch. You are told that you can have anything you want with Marvel. Do you have a pitch ready in the chamber? And what character would you take and run your own storyline with if you had your run of the mill?
Well, I had a choice. I'd probably start from the left. One of my favorite comics of all time. And Mark Wolfman, who wrote it, so he's a good buddy of mine. I would love to do that one. Second choice would be I would go in and do Fantastic Four. I have a pitch for it. I already pitched it where Dr. Doom is actually Nikola Tesla. And
Ooh.
have that Professor
That's interesting.
before. But unfortunately, steampunk doesn't sell very well. It sells great costumes, so it doesn't sell books. But I have a bunch of other Marvel pitches. I'm not writing for Marvel at the moment, but I'm going to do some stuff. Like right now, I'm doing a project for DC that we can't actually announce.
Okay.
But I'm doing a novel for DC.
Interesting.
So I'll probably do more DC work. Go back to Marvel. I have some Deadpool pitches. Probably the Deadpool Magical Mystery Tour is the one I would have the most fun writing. Deadpool being insane. It's channeling. He has an iPod with him that has songs from all the singers that have died over the years. And he thinks they're his song lyrics. So he goes off on this big world quest to solve this problem that may be entirely his own making, or his ghost may actually be talking to him.
Fascinating.
So, it's one I do actually plan to pitch to Marvel.
All right.
Okay.
And by the way,
Cool.
Deadpool is a fun character. I've used him as a supporting character in my Marvel Universe series.
Yes.
I love him, and also in Doom. I love him as a supporting character. It's hilarious.
He is, yeah.
It would
So-
be a lot of fun to
Yeah. So moving on to V Wars. So you blend multiple genres there, sci-fi, but then also vampire mythology, as well as like zombie fiction. It's almost like where the lines of vampire and zombie almost sort of overlap. What does V Wars mean to you?
Oh boy, V-Wars has some real history. So buckle up. There's lots of First off, that vampires kind of overlap. George Romero, who was a good friend of mine, had wanted to get the rights to Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, which is a vampire apocalypse novel. The movie,
It's really good.
Only the first of the three movie adaptations have vampires in it. The Vincent Price version, the version they did in the 70s, I believe, like the Omega Man, Charles Heston, they turned them into basically albinos with sunglasses. I'm not sure why that's scary. The Smith version, half of which was really good. The other half, they're basically hardcore zombies. They all look like naked Ted Dansons, which is scary.
Well, there's a mental image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Romero had wanted to do I Am Legend and couldn't get the rights, so he changed it from vampires to ghouls. And they'll put that in the cornerstone of the landmark movie for what we now call the zombie. The V-Wars, my history is a little complicated there too. I had written 5 nonfiction books on the folklore of supernatural predators around the world for history, vampires, werewolves, and so on. I love the folkloric versions of monsters. I kind of don't like a lot of the Hollywood movies on them, where, things like being afraid of the cross or sunlight. None of that was in folklore. Sunlight was added to the vampire myth because of the movie Nosferatu, and they couldn't afford the expensive ending. The lighting guy suggested they have sunlight kill them, directed the wheelchair or something. And it becomes part of the genre. But I also love science fiction. I'm primarily a writer of thriller, weird science thriller, the ledger series, even my zombie books that have hard science at the core. So I wanted to kind of mash all of my different books together into one story. And the way I got involved in that is Max Brooks had been editing. He's the guy with World War Z and Zombie Survival Guide, Sonic Nobles. He had been editing an anthology of G.I. Joe stories. And he up and asked me if I want to write a G.I. Joe story. I'm like, okay, that's random, sure, And I did. I had fun with it, and but he didn't have time to do another anthology. So they asked me if I would do one, and I had an idea cooking about what would happen if vampirism turned out to be a genetic disorder, not a supernatural.
Yeah.
Yes.
I pitched it to them, and I said I want to do this a shared world. I want to write maybe a 20 or 30,000 framing story, and then write other writers write field reports. And they're like, that sounds cool. Let's do that. And the 4 volumes of that, prose thing. Along the way, I did a total of 0 through 11, and then standalone out of 4. And it ends my love of thriller, science fiction, pandemic type stories, political stories, stories that deal with racism and intolerance and border issues. All of the things that really power who I am got put together in
Yeah, it's funny you bring up racism because perfect segue. So I'm reading V Wars, and I noticed a not so subtle parallel between the Bloods, right, the vampires of the story, and a lot of disenfranchised people. It seems in volume one that it seems to lean towards, right, because of course it's fiction, so there's probably a lot of parallels between disenfranchised people as a whole, but it seems like in volume one, it seems to lean towards the Muslim people, especially given the war on terror and all that, air quotes. Is that on purpose? And what else kind of influenced you in the creation of the vampires in your story?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a very racist household, a very racist neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And once my eyes got opened to what the realities of racism and tolerance are, it's kind of hard to close your eyes and go back and pretend that that's real. And it's been a factor in a lot of what I've taught. Because in teaching martial arts, some of the specialty groups I've worked with were groups that were being bullied and oppressed and so on. LGBT, a lot of African American groups, and a group of Muslims that I worked with who were being persecuted in the Philadelphia area back in the 80s. So this is the sort of thing I wanted to address. The experience of the Bloods, and the reason I'm nicknaming the Bloods not just because they drink blood, but because we wanted to have it a subtle reference to any group that is identified and demonized because they are perceived as different. Their blood is not known.
That's right.
Ah, very
and
good.
One of the funny jokes I have is the only intolerance I have is intolerance. After 9/11, all of Islam was demonized for what a few people did, and that's insane. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people around the world for what the action did, and yet there was a blind eye turn, and there still is a blind eye turn to when groups like the KKK or the alt-right commit acts of terrorism. They're not considered terrorism. That's just committing a crime, making a protest. No, that's terrorism. But just because it's one group doesn't mean it's everything.
That's right.
So we wanted to explore that, and we touched on it in this show. I was not involved with the writing of the first season of the show. We are at the process now. Summer Holder and Star and I are in the process of shopping it elsewhere.
There it is.
Because both the same political page, and we want to yell a lot louder when we find it.
I see.
That's one of the reasons that we had first in the past. We want to hit that note harder too, and we want to have voices on all sides of the issue, good and bad. And we want to talk about how people are a problem at times, not race is a problem. Race is made to be a problem. It's not itself a problem.
That's right.
So,
Awesome. I should put a spoiler warning here for any of our viewers that haven't read the second trade of V Wars, but I super enjoyed it, and towards the end of the second trade, spoiler, we see Obama make an appearance, and it's revealed that he's a Blood himself. So you've already said, obviously, that a lot of the characters were inspired by real life, but I wondered, were any of the characters inspired by real people like Obama?
a few are, most people I know, so they wouldn't be people but most of the people I know. And
Cool.
I know a lot of people. They play in, I base characters off personality traits. I actually create a sense of realism. But one of the reasons I put Obama in there because he's a powerful person. He was president when I was writing, which
That's right.
still
Take me back.
If he was an empire, he would not be out there trying to fake who he was. Like you have with some violent homophobes who they may be gay, but they don't want to know that they're sex that. That sort of stuff is it's kind of damage we've seen for centuries. Still doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So going back to what Ree was talking about, how you are very active in Facebook and Twitter and social media, and which is awesome, by the way, especially for fans to be able to interact with the creators of the work we love. but sometimes I can kind of cut both ways, right? So were there any fans of V Wars? And then here comes, well, the parallels that you created between the vampires and disenfranchised groups, but mainly when you made President Obama a vampire blood. Did you ever get any flack? Was there anybody ever push back against that?
I had 3 nasty emails.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And maybe 15,000 positive messages.
Good. Yeah,
That's good.
I'm okay with that ratio.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when I drop any kind of politics or controversy in one of my novels or comics, in Pandemica, there's a lot of politics in there, and it's a little more contemporary too. And I get some people say, "I'm never going to read your comics again," and I get 500 people saying, "Oh, you made a fan for life." So,
Yeah. Like you said, a pretty good ratio there.
and even if it's split, it's still not going to change what I want to say. Some people think that if you're any kind of a celebrity, you're not allowed to speak on politics. I beg to differ.
Oh yeah, 100%.
My opinions, and if I want to say them, I'll say them.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Be true to your art, right?
True to yourself.
And if some people stop reading my books, well, thank you for the books you bought.
Yeah. Too late.
That's a great answer. So, Jonathan, what was your role with the Netflix adaptation of V Wars, and do you think that it translated well? What's your opinion of the show?
I thought the show was really good. It could have been better. It was a little safer than I wanted it to be. But I think they were afraid of being too controversial during a very politically sensitized time. And I get them. They're not trying to have protests outside of Netflix offices. I get it. I was not involved with the writing of it. I became friends with a lot of the actors. In fact, Ian Somerhalder and I became quite close friends. I'm friends with Adrian Holmes, who played the second lead, Michael Caine, and Laura Vandervoort and the others. We've all become quite close. And they're great people, and sometimes they would talk to me about their characters rather than go to the screenwriters. They would talk about how they want to interpret it and what my thoughts were. That wasn't official. That was fun. They made me executive producer at the end, the very end of it. So I actually was not involved in writing or anything else. Because it was my first show, I didn't have a lot of leverage. Everything else I'm doing now, including a movie that's in development and 2 TV shows that are in development, everything there I'm executive producer on, and I actually get some creative say where I want to know. Doing a project right now based on a book, an anthology I edited, and we're turning that into a TV series. And I'm not only an executive producer, I'll be a writer on the show too.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
Okay.
And just,
Awesome.
I know you got a question, Ree, about the soundtrack, but I just want to say that out of the shows that I'm a fan of, I guess I can only speak for myself, so I'm going to speak for millions of people here, by the way. But if you any show that I ever feel that is good, because I'm biased because I like your story, right? So then now I have a bias towards the film that I want to like because I like the story. But you're right, you hit the nail on the head as far as people who want to play it safe. It's like, well, the risk part is what was part of what made it great. And so when you look at, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to watch Gangs of London out of UK, or if you watch, even big titles like Game of Thrones or something. It's those risks and controversy that really makes them great. And your book, just to gush a little bit, your book is awesome and riveting because of the risks. And so that would be my only thing. I hope you get a second season, because seeing where you can take it is great.
We have we have a good chance, and we also have some good advisors too, like Damon Lindelof, who's doing the brilliant Watchmen TV series, which takes the prisoners, and it's
yes,
has been an advisor for us and so on. So we've got a number of the right kind of people behind us to give us their support when we go and do something that is going to reach people's. We really don't take it.
Amazing. Hey, in V Wars, there's a lot of lyrics that you've written. I've noticed, like a lot of hip hop, and so I'm wondering,
My son.
like what soundtrack were you listening to when you were writing it, and what soundtrack should people listen to when they're reading it and enjoying it, do you think?
Well, my personal soundtrack when I was writing was a lot of. I'm a big fan of certain types of singer-songwriters. Leonard Cohen, um, Tom Waits, a lot of Tom Waits stuff. You know, that's
Sweet.
but my son is very much into hip hop and rap, so uh, he was typical of a lot of suburban white kids. He wanted to be Eminem, or he wanted to be Tupac.
Yeah.
And he's actually performed rap at mostly black clubs and done well with it too. He does it at more spoken word. And he does it really well. It's not his main thing, it's fascination. So when I wanted to have a couple of blood rappers in there, I asked him if he would write the lyrics for them. And he nailed it. And
Wow.
and everyone else liked it. But the members of the cast really liked it. We hope that in the second season, we want to do a scene inside that club that's in the books. Have a little drip out there, rapping. It would be great.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
I attempted to write rap lyrics. And let's just say no one will ever see the versions I wrote with very in the 70s when I was
It's good to know you have some flaws.
In the 70s, I used to do a couple of bands. One of it was a metal band. I wrote the most awful, pretentious lyrics for the songs. They had sang them, but nobody could understand the lyrics the way he sang them anyway. So, but
I don't know. I kind of want to hear it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chords.
We're gonna have to come up with a Jonathan Maberry rap name.
That's it.
So last
MC Maberry.
last
Jay Berry.
Maberry. There it is.
So last V Wars question. Would you like to give us so obviously you have a plan, if the rest of the story, whether it's in the graphic novels or the show, would you like to give us like a spoiler, kind of a teaser of what to expect that hasn't been released yet?
Well, if they have seen, people have seen the last episode. We had 27 million people watch that show. Massive global audience. But if those people who saw the last episode, you saw that jump 4 months later, and Ian Somerhalder's character has gotten buff and gotten into the game in terms of fighting. He's no longer just a kid. So that's going to be a big factor in any future version of this we do. I teased it a little bit. And it's funny because I teased it before I knew that that's what we were going to do on the last episode. I wrote a comic called V Wars God of War, in which we catch up with Luther Swan 6 years later. He's buff as hell. I didn't see that leading a team.
Yeah.
And that's where the writers were going in the last episode. So it's nice to see. But he'll definitely be a badass with a broken heart and psychologically compromised.
Okay.
Awesome.
So we have a pretty good idea at this point of the kind of things that you're interested in as far as monsters and stuff like that. Lately, and I know we talk, you're very busy creator, but when it comes to whatever kind of spare time to nerd out that you do have, what kind of things are you nerding out on?
Well, currently, I'm making my way through my second complete reading of Rick Remender's wonderful Black Science.
Oh, nice.
That is amazing.
Okay.
What a beautiful book.
Yeah. And next up after that is complete reread of Eric Powell's The Moon, one of my all-time favorite comics. So I'm doing a lot of that. Plus I have a lot of friends who are comic creators. Like Michael Yoll's a good buddy of mine, so I read all the Hellboy and DPRD stuff. That's always terrific stuff. For movies, it's funny, lately I've been watching more TV than movies because it's social isolation. So I've been Into the Night, which is a really cool science fiction show. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. got a plane full of people. I keep having to circle the globe to stay ahead of dawn.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Watched River Street, a BBC history series, and Zomboat. That's hilarious. It's four slappers in London trying to escape the zombie apocalypse by going down the canals on a boat. But the boats and the canals are so slow that the zombies on the banks are keeping up with them. And they're always up with them. They're really, really hilarious. I watch a lot of zombie stuff. So I've heard a bunch of zombie stuff I haven't seen before. The animated trickles that kind of saw. Black Summer, which was it's the unofficial prequel to Z Nation, written by a friend of mine with England, who's now at Shutter TV. And then one of the guys from Beaver, with the Gray Eyes, who played the character in the same, was in a Shutter zombie movie recently. So, that was so quite a lot of stuff. Also reading a lot of DC. DC project, and I've read a bunch of DC over the years, but now I'm really diving deep into certain areas and really digging what DC has done in certain books.
Can I make a recommendation? So we had Rodney Barnes on our program just a few weeks ago, and he's writing an ongoing series called Philadelphia, and it's about vampires in Philadelphia, and it draws a lot. It's all the things that I think you like. It draws from history, and it's also really scary and awesome. I definitely recommend that.
I grew up in Philadelphia, so.
Oh yeah, then you got it. You have to read it.
I will definitely track it out.
Okay, Philadelphia from Image Comics by Rodney Barnes.
You sort of answered my next question. I was going to ask what comic creators you'd recommend to your fans, and you mentioned Black Science, you mentioned Hellboy. If someone was like, "Hey, I loved V-Wars," what would you point them towards in terms of like other comics that they could read that are similar?
One of the problems we had early on, we were asking if you like to read. I can point you to a series that I love that aren't necessarily similar in theme to V-Wars, the Outbreak comics, but have comics that really dig deep into social issues, like Scout by Jason Aaron.
I love that.
The Ms. Marvel series they did with a Muslim teenager becomes superhero.
Mala.
Yeah, Mala Khan, trying to balance her life and traditional life and the modern American life plus superhero. Those are fantastic. Preacher was great. Bunker was fantastic. That one, EMZ, a great comic.
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
that's
And if you want to go back a little bit, reading Transmetropolitan was just brilliant because of the unflinching view of politics and the cynicism about any organization or corporation or government. Some really fantastic stuff. So those are things I would recommend to someone who wants to kind of get up to speed with comics that flinch and tell the truth.
I love DMZ.
I love that you mentioned Scout. I've got it on my bookcase behind me, all 10 volumes. It's so good. Such a fan of Jason Aaron.
I feel like you're the Jonathan Maberry of reading. How he is with so if you have all the time, if you figure out how to like do time control to do creating, she does it with reading. Like she's just reading all the time. Like I don't think she sleeps.
Yeah.
It's because you got creators like Jonathan. I can't stop.
Well, I'm actually not physically reading. I listen to audiobooks. So there's always one input. I don't want to sit in it. I don't need the Zen moments of sitting there in stillness. I want to fill that with entertainment. I'm a storyteller. I want to hear everybody else's stories.
Makes sense.
Like right now, on my side gigs, I'm editing Weird Tales magazine, the Rebirth of it, and looking for stories that represent diversity in all its possible forms.
Yes.
Not only storytelling, diversity in themes, diversity in cast of writers, and that allows me to also read these very closely. We have the first issue, I did Victor Laval with a story, a brilliant story called Up from Slavery. And, if you have any racist sensibilities, you are going to be bleeding at the end of that story. So,
I love that. It hurt me,
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, you offer writing lessons over on Zoom via your website, right? So anyone looking for a more detailed answer to this question, head to Jonathan's website. He's got a bunch of different lessons on different aspects of writing. But that being said, our last question, do you have any advice for new writers or artists that are trying to break into the comics industry?
Well, yeah, a couple things. First, go to my website if you're a writer. On the Jonathan Maberry website, there's a page called Free Stuff for Writers. There's a sample of comic book script. Go and look at the form of that, because a lot of people don't realize that the writers give art directions to the artists. So I think it's one of my Captain America scripts or something. Take it, study the form, but also when you read comics, read them first round of opinion, and then reread them as a writer. Look at how they're constructed, where the beats fall, where room is made for art to tell the story when, yes, it could have been told with words, but art, which is a visual medium. Study the form. There's some really good books. Peter David has a good book on writing comics.
Love him.
Yeah, there's a few good books on comics out there. Study the form. The more you're familiar with the form, the more you realize how elastic that form is. So it will stretch to any kind of storytelling you want to tell. But if you don't know the form, there's a trap of falling into just telling conventional stories.
Yes.
You don't want to.
Wow.
A lot of people have done that. We've got 75 years of conventional storytelling that's already been done. Take us in a new direction. Look at things like some of the graphic novels. Read Persepolis. Read Ghostwriting, History of Violence. Read V for Vendetta. I mean, all of them broke the form of standard comics by changing, like, does it need to have superheroes? Does it need to be this? No, it doesn't. Go do something completely different. But you can only really do that if you understand the form and how elastic the form is. Then when that's done, and as soon as this coronavirus has run its course, which hopefully will be an hour, then start pitching. Most comic companies have a page on their site showing how to pitch. If not, go to a Comic-Con with some business cards and a 90-second verbal pitch. Go to booths, Image and Booth and Oni and Diamond. Talk to the editors, because they're usually the ones manning the booth, and ask if you do a quick pitch in a comic. Don't put anything to give them. Just quick pitch. A lot of people get picked up that way. And that's a way, so you're not only you're practicing your pitch, you're also refining the pitch so it's quick, making contact with people who are key in the industry. So those would be some good advice.
That is extremely relevant, because we might be working on a project that we have no clue how to break into. So I appreciate that advice. We will definitely take you up on that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the great Jonathan Maberry of V-Wars and many other projects. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Maberry, for joining us. If we have more projects to come up, I hope you come on again. We would love to have you.
Thank you. As I'm leaving, one quick pitch. I have a new graphic novel out. Pandemica just came out. It's very much now about pandemics within the United States and cities like Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. burning because of what's going on. I wrote this last year.
Wow.
It seems to be more eerily timely than I expected.
Seems a bit relevant, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Say the title and publisher again.
Pandemica. It just came out last week. A graphic novel, trade paperback, and it's from IDW.
IDW. So here's what I can almost guarantee you is we're going to be writing you here in a couple weeks, and I would love to have you back on to talk Pandemica. This is that would be awesome.
That's a whole conversation by itself. So
Awesome.
I love
Awesome.
Sounds awesome. Cool.
All right, signing off. You guys take care. Stay nerdy.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and be free. Follow our links and watch our show because you want to and not because of the threats. Thank you for watching Judah, Robo, and Ree. We talk about comics, movies, and TV. Sometimes we have notable guests, and sometimes it's just us. But we're also cool.